So what we're going to do is we're just going to have each of them tell you just a little bit, like in 5 minutes, tell you a little bit about their story, how they started, how they got into network marketing in the first place, and then we're going to have a few questions for them that they're each going to answer in their own way because they each have a different view on the same thing. So we will start here. So we'll start with Trisha. You want to tell us how? Yeah, just your story in like a nutshell, right? Like if it's like you're speed dating.
Hi, everyone. First of all, thank you so much for having me here. I feel like a very small fish in this pond, so thank you. My journey started just over 3 years ago. We had 3 small kids in 2 years, and was basically just looking, honestly not looking for something else in my life. We were very busy, as you all hear, and I stumbled into this business one night after learning about one company in particular. And it was interesting for me learning that I had this skill set that I actually didn't know existed. So I just started one step at a time, doing one little launch here and one reach out there, and built my business within about 8 months. And the rest is history. I mean, I have built a really strong team now, and have learned a lot along the way, and I'm still constantly learning, and I think that's probably the best part of this whole journey. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Okay, so last night, Ariana told me that we had to do a little story, and I would like a story, so I wrote a couple of things down. Closer? Okay, I'll do it closer. My name is Tara Merrill. I am married to my high school sweetheart for the past 38 years. And we have 6 beautiful kids. They're all married now, and they've given us 15 beautiful grandkids. So I'm a grandma of 15. My family is my why. That's why I started doing this. And that's not only who I am also a baby boomer network marketer. I feel like I've always been an entrepreneur. I've always done things my own way, done my own businesses, run my own businesses, like a wholesale company, and we made products for like 300 stores and hired artists and all kinds of things. I sewed little dresses, and lastly, before I found this business, I was actually a professional photographer, but we moved 5 hours west of here, and that kind of killed my business. We moved to a very small town. I feel like I'm a very average person, come from a very small town, and lived there for 50 years. In a small town, I'm talking 200 people. Yes. I started with the company I'm with now 3 years ago. First said no for 8 months, said not doing direct selling again. I've already done it 10 times. And I've always loved the industry, but I was a little burned out, and I just kind of dabbled in it. And then started this, and it just took off. I've had lots of trials in my life and lots of things to overcome, and got to some pretty dark places in my life, from really severe health issues and different things where I actually kind of wanted to not be here anymore. And then somebody else had a different plan for me and threw me a lifeline. And I started this company, and it just gave me back my focus, gave me back my life, gave me back my health. And now, as of this past month, basically, you already know that we're 6-figure, 7-figure earners, and just not to brag at all, because we don't want to, we are amazed where we are, right? But just to let you know that anything is possible. And last week, I just retired my husband.
Yeah.
I retired him from the coal mines of British Columbia. So anyways, bottom line, if I can do this, any of you can do it.
Awesome.
Hey everyone, my name is Jennifer Piper Kennedy. I live in Kamloops. So my background, I was the brick and mortar store girl. My ex-husband and I had 3 storefronts, and then I had children and had 3 boys in less than 5 years, because when you're a red, you're a red. And, you know, for a lot of the moms, what made me decide this was the morning of, you know, kind of yelling at the kids to get them out the door, to put them in daycare, where someone else is raising my children. And so that was when I was like, well, there's this whole other industry where I still have a business, I still get to use my brains and, you know, have business plans and coach and help people, but you don't have all the overhead and the stress, and I didn't have to leave the kids. So I was with Party Plan, which is a whole different thing. And actually, July 2017, so just short of 2 years ago, my company closed on a phone call. And I was a single mom. So it's probably the most devastating day of my life. But what kind of comes out of that sometimes is those blessings of closing doors, open other ones. So I found another company, and within the first 5 weeks, we hit like the highest rank in the entire company. And why that was because I had built, we had culture, community, and connection. So the last, 10 years of building my business with both customers and team, we'd had this amazing culture. And so when, you had this other opportunity, we all, went and sidelines and uplines and all sorts of fun things. And we ran, and we just, I look back at that time as such a blessing. And I see so many women, our company's predominantly women, but women every day who just have this opportunity to be home with their kids, to retire their husbands, to be able to still, again, have a business and feel like you're providing value and you're making an impact in your life and still be there for your kids. So that's why I love it.
I'm Angela Martini, and I just want to give a shout out to my husband and all the men that are in support of their wives and their crazy dreams, and all the men in this business. So shout out to all of you. I'm an immigrant to Canada. I was born in Austria, came to this country quite a few years ago, and at 18 with 2 suitcases and a really large dream. And I have to say, this country has provided an incredible opportunity for me in so many different careers. Fitness and health has been kind of part of my life all my life. I was a dental hygienist for many years, and eventually a business owner in interior design. And one thing that I have to say, and sometimes, and this is no disrespect to anybody from a different country, but sometimes the Canadians, we don't have the zero to hero story as much that we often hear, right, in other countries. This is a very, very fortunate place to be living in. And the one thing that I can say is when network marketing found me in my late 40s, it was I had a really good life, but I did not know that I could have a great life, right? And what was missing was that purpose piece, that service piece. Now, I'm sure many of you right now in the room would feel that you've been called upon to do this, right? And those of you who've been in this industry for a while, like when you think back or when you lose your way, at one point in time you felt called. There was more, right? There was more for us. And that's what network marketing has provided for me. So my husband is here. He's always encouraged all my harebrained ideas. So he's always like, you go, just go, right? So the men in the room that are in support, or maybe even your husbands at home right now that haven't quite gotten on board yet, hold space for that, right? Hold space for that. And I always say, happy wife, happy life, and money talks. Okay? So it found me in my late 40s. My sponsor is in the room. You saw her speaking earlier, and it started from, we're living in a beautiful home. My husband's provided an amazing life for us. We've had a great life. And it started from a product experience, right? So never negate that product experience. Had that amazing product experience and just kept moving forward little bits at a time, little bits at a time. No sort of upline support, no big training. We just kind of learned as we went forward, right? Learned, failed forward. And that's what I want to speak into you guys today, is just wherever you are, whether you've already been to the heights of it and kind of, not there right now, or you're just on that way up and you have that dream, it's just one day at a time, one person at a time, one conversation at a time, you know, really connecting with people and speaking into them what is possible. That's been the biggest gift for me. And the other thing I want to say is we have 18-year-old twin daughters, and the conversation that they have grown up in, the value of that is extraordinary. So the values of being in network marketing, whether you are already at the level you want to be at, all these other benefits and side benefits so outweigh, right? The good, the bad, and the ugly. So I'm intensely grateful and very proud to be part of this profession.
Awesome.
Hi, my name is Nikki Rampol. I am actually from Grand Prairie, Alberta. So if a Grand Prairie girl could be successful, anybody can. Coming from middle of nowhere. So I am married to, we're actually celebrating our 25th year anniversary in a couple weeks. We have 3 girls. They are 22, 18, and 16. And my husband and I actually married a farmer. I moved from Edmonton to Grand Prairie because he basically said, I can't move the farm. So if we want to create a life together, you have to come to Grand Prairie. And there was nothing in Grand Prairie 26 years ago. So we're still there in Grand Prairie. He only farmed for 1 year. So he got me to Grand Prairie and then stopped farming. We actually went into small traditional business. We bought at the ripe old age of 23 and 22 and just had our first baby. Bought a company that he was working for, which was crazy insane. And from there, we just bought a few more businesses along the way, sold some, lost a lot of money along the way, bought more. So we've had a journey of in small business, and network marketing came my way probably a lot of years. Like I've had all my friends used to always say to me, oh, you need to do this with me, you need to do this with me. I would run for the hills. I'll buy your product, never will I sell your product. But I'll totally support you and buy it. I have cupboards and cupboards and cupboards of Party Light and spices and whatever else they sold. I would buy them from them, but I would never sell it. And then my sister approached me. It was with another company. I never really, there was no success in it or anything, but it sort of opened my mind to network marketing because it was a bit more traditional business. It was a bit of a hybrid. But anyways, there was nothing really there. And then I actually just watched a friend on Facebook, right? She had great results. I called her up and I just said, let me make this very clear to you. I do not want your business or your opportunity. And I want to tell you this because how many of us hear that? I want your product, but I don't want your business. I didn't either. But listen, my coach, my sponsor, who will be here later today, she said, that's fine. Give the product a try, that's great. During that time of me waiting for it, and while I started it, she just introduced me to people, right? That started to plant the seed of that there is potential there for me. So here we are in Canada. The company, she brought the company to Canada, so I was one of her first people, amount of people. It was right away. And we didn't have much for shipping. We didn't have much for support, not much corporate support because nothing had ever happened in Canada. The shipping was terrible, absolutely terrible. Half the products didn't even arrive in the boxes. One person got a fax machine in the box. We don't sell fax machines, I'll tell you that. So we had a lot of fires to put out. Yet, I caught the fire in my belly after my first conference. So if you haven't been to your company's conference, that's a really important thing to go to. I went to my company's first conference, 3 weeks on the system. I went all the way to Nashville, caught the vision of these average, ordinary men and women like these women that were making extraordinary, life-changing incomes. So I made a decision that day. While I was at conference that I will be a leader on that stage next time we come back. I don't know what you have to do to get to the stage, and I don't even know how much money they make, and I don't know what we'll do, but whatever they do, I'm going to do it. So I literally went home, and within 10 weeks, I made a decision. I became one of those people that's the level they asked to speak on the stage within 10 weeks of starting my business. I'm not a network marketer, but I made a decision that I wanted my life different because I had heard stories like this where their lives were different. I didn't have a bad life. I didn't have the rags to riches. We had a good life. I had a very good life. I had a husband that supported us, and we both did in our businesses. And so I went for it, and that was 4 years ago. And I was able to retire my husband 2 years in. My husband and I out a small business, which we weren't enjoying anymore at all. And literally in 4 years have made more income than we made in 23 years in small traditional business. That's the blessing of this industry. So if you're here and want to dig in, you can make that decision to do it. It is a decision. I'll never forget the day I made the decision to do it. So, and that's my story. I'm loving every bit of it.
Yay, awesome. Am I on here too? Thank you. You know what? One of the things I've loved most about this process, especially this particular event, and the conversations that I've been able to have, and
Who here got on a phone call with Ariana about this, never had met her, and stayed on the phone till 3 o'clock in the morning? Yeah, right? Amazing.
but we didn't start the conversation until after midnight. Just
Right, that's true. That's true.
She's like, I'm up. Are you up? I was like, yeah, I'm up. She's like, okay, thank you for that.
Yeah.
I'm good. Because some of the people that I've met in this industry, is not just that they're network marketers, but because they all have the same story, right? We all feel scared, we all feel fear, we all want something about our lives to change. We're trying to do things for our kids. We thought we'd be farther in life than we are, all this kind of comparison thing. But I've just met some of the most beautiful humans of my life in this industry, and particularly, we only know the ones in our companies, but this privilege that I've had to get on the phone and talk to each one of you before this event, and just, it was so great for me because there was a lot of resistance with this event too, right? There's like, you hold this vision and you get all this kind of resistance and people telling you why it won't work and what's not happening. And so when you just kind of talk to someone who just gets it and they just kind of fuel you, and every one of these women, that there's a reason they're on here, is they're super successful, but they're successful for a reason, because they want to serve. They want to give. They caught the vision of this of just collectively being able to give and serve and lift and lead and teach and inspire, right? There are people out there, but the more that we can do that collectively, all these women are with a different company, right? There's 5 companies represented right up here today, but the more that we can be unified in that message, the more we can show up collectively to the world and create change, right? Because the only time that change has ever occurred in life is because there's a small group of people who believe that they can. Right? And it was just really inspiring for me to talk to that group of people up here today. So with that, there's some questions. I asked some questions of some people and just kind of this was the theme of ones they would want you guys to answer. So we're just going to go through just 2 or 3 of these, and you guys can answer them in your own way. And one of them was, what do you do when it gets hard? Because it's never gotten hard for you, right? Yeah, so Nikki, maybe you'll start there. What do you do in this business, like when you started, or even now, because it always changes? But what do you do when it gets hard?
That's such an interesting question for me, because I'm going to be really honest with you guys. When I started this, my whole journey was up. It was up, it was up, it was up. And our president called me one day and he's like, I don't want you to be disappointed when it doesn't go up all the time. I'm like, oh, it's always going to go up. Like, it's never going to. And he's like, no, it will plateau and it will go down. And to be honest, that happened for me about a year ago. So 3 years in, I was up for 3 years. And I literally thought I was going to lose my mind. And for me, I have a mentor that I can call any time of day, night, whatever. And I literally call him and he just says, lay it out there. And I just have a little hissy fit with him, nobody else. My team is here, they can hear this now, some of my team. But, I have a little bit of a hissy fit. Rob Sperry's become one of my hissy fit people. and to bring perspective back again. Like, Nikki, where have you come from, right? Look what you're doing, where have you come from? So that's what I do. I do a lot of personal development. I've always, for the last 12 years, I've really worked on myself. And so I go back to books, I Google things, I listen to things, I surround myself with the people that have what I want. And that's at a point where you can actually do the opposite, because you can crawl into a hole and go into the people that are in a hole as well. And that's a bad cycle to do, right? You've got to be conscious to not do that and find the people that are going to elevate you and that can bring you back up. And so those are some of the things that I do. Me, I'm a worker, so I work harder, and that's probably maybe not the thing to do, and I'll just go to work even harder and harder and longer and harder. And but it's to start to work smarter, and I'm learning that in the last year that I have to work smarter. And so I find the people, Rob Sperry being one of them. I'm not putting a plug in for him, he doesn't pay me, but he is somebody that teaches me to work smarter. And so when I follow him, that's what I learned to do.
I think all of us could tell the exact same story, right? So I'm like, okay, yeah, check. I think, yes, yes. I think the most important thing to remember is the truth is good enough. This is a pretty incredible business, and the truth is good enough. And sometimes when you're elevated because the profession recognizes every person on the rise, I can get caught up in that moment, or I can get caught up in that energy. And every time that happens, I go back to a mentor, and I try to fall in love with what I fell in love with in the first time. Like, what was I falling in love with? It was helping that person. It was helping, for me, it's health and wellness, so it was helping that person feel better. It was helping that person make some money. So I try to find somebody to help. And typically when I'm in that place, it's always because I made it about me. It stopped being about what this is really all about, which is being in service to more people. Very simple. And to realize that, just because we may have reached a certain rank and level in the company, and I really appreciated that about what you said, Rob, yesterday in the vehicle when we picked you up from the airport, is, sometimes there's this perception now you're moving up in rank, and, the company puts out a kind of a number, the rank is between here and here, that's their income, okay? Many of us reach that at a certain level or so many weeks in our business, but there's 52 more weeks in that business. And it takes time to grow that volume, right? It takes time to build that business, to have that type of revenue coming in consistently. So don't use that as beating yourself up. I have used that many times. And I was like you, right? And that's normal. It's business, right? Sometimes up, sometimes down. That's business. So, but in these times, we have opportunity to grow. We have opportunity to kind of step up and see, where did I lose my way? And I wish I could remember all the words that you imparted to us in the car yesterday, Tim, about standard operating procedure, right? You go back to standard operating procedure. So what is it? We got to find people to talk to. We got to talk to those people. Yes?
Whoa!
And then we got to teach other people to do the exact same thing.
Go. Thanks, Angela.
So my go-to if I'm having a bad time in my business or days, I buy new shoes.
There you go.
But I mean, do something that makes you happy. So definitely personal development is huge. And then for me, again, I agree completely, and I think that we'll all have a lot of that. But one place that when I'm not necessarily feeling so great about my business or things in general, is I'll lean in with the new people. Because the thing about new people is they're so freaking fired up and passionate. And if you're having a bad day, you cannot have, those things in your head when you're working with someone new. And their passion fires you up, their passion fuels you. And so I find that whenever, you sort of have those little dips, I go into my business and I look for the new people, and a little win for them, their first customer, their first, thing that they do on Facebook. All those little wins are such a big, big, big thing for them, and that just fires me up. It makes me feel this is what I'm supposed to be doing, this is what I'm meant to be doing. So their passion always fires me up. And then I'll just say my other thing is events, right like this. I am a hardcore events girl. I go to them all, but I also host them because, sometimes when you live in Canada, not everyone wants to fly all over the place. So I'll host events, even just small events for your team, because again, you're all around the fire, you feel that passion, you have that excitement, and so those are kind of my big tips for you guys. But shoes, for sure.
Shoes. Write that down.
Yeah, so ditto. We're all kind of saying the same things, but I find having a mentor to be able to talk to get through those times, and it's always a mentor who is someone really super positive that can remind me of where we've come from and what we have overcome, because we all know it's a roller coaster. I have some leaders on my team that I will go to just one-on-one, new people. I basically stayed at one rank in my company for a whole year because I went into management mode and just started doing the team, pouring everything into my team, and I was running out of gas doing that. And I found as soon as I turned to one-on-one talking to people and building my own business again, that actually re-onboarded myself, and personal development. That's what I do.
End of the line. The thing with this business for me was that I was not planning to have a business. I came into this, loved the product, loved the idea of what the company was all about, and it turned out I was really good at this business. And so I do have these ups and downs quite often. I didn't need a full-time job. Like you said, we were fortunate in that. I wasn't searching for a full-time job. I had 3 little kids at the time. So I think going back to the reasons why you started in the first place, so having a clear vision, we say it all the time, write down why you're doing this, because you do need to go back to that almost every single month. Your numbers go up, and then they're at 0. Your numbers go up, the first of the month, they're at 0. And I think reminding yourself that every single person in this industry has that exact same thing happen to them, and it's okay. So on that first day of the month, you have to go, okay, what did I do last month that worked? And most of the time, it is the simplest thing that you started doing, and you literally just have to do one thing every single day. And like you said, I have my person who I go to. I say, oh my goodness, I'm having one of those days and I just can't do this right now. And she says, okay, and we have our talk. And we leave that conversation and she says, okay, what is the one thing you're going to do when we get off the phone? And it keeps you accountable and just gives you that reason to do that one thing that day. And just honestly, one thing gets you going again.
Awesome. That's good. That's good? Okay. Well, you don't have to be, no, see, now you get to be first again. Now you get to go, you're holding the mic, you get to do what you want. Yeah, exactly. So there's a couple of things that and what's interesting is all these questions tie together, right? Because you're talking about the things that have come to you from network marketing that you couldn't have imagined, in good and bad ways. But one of the things one of the questions was, a common theme was, what if you could find a common characteristic, especially now that you guys are in leadership positions and are leading others, what kind of common characteristics have you seen, or what would it take, or a common characteristic it would take for you to actually see people win here and find success?
This one for me is really simple. I look for people who are doers. It really just takes that. If you have someone who has a million ideas, but they don't act on one single idea, then they're not going to go anywhere. And it doesn't mean that they're doers in network marketing already. They are just doers in life. And if you look for those people who just get done, those are the people that are going to be successful. I know. Sorry, baby.
Okay, yeah, for sure, that's so important. I think another thing that I look at people when I meet them, if people are open. I'm an open person, I'm an open book, I'll tell you anything about me or my life. I'm looking for open people to connect with, and then I'm looking for optimistic people as well, because when you build a tribe of people like that, then that's where the support, the love, and the can-do attitude can come from.
So for me, sort of twofold. First of all, hunger. I think that if someone is hungry, no matter what, you can teach everything else, right? You can teach all the skills and what works. But then on the other end of that, with that, has to be the resilience. Because we all know there's a lot of ups and there's a lot of downs. And this industry, more than anything else, you know, sometimes I'm always like, network marketing is not for the faint of heart, because if you're not resilient, it will beat you up and you'll just run away crying, right? So, you know, I love to see that they have that hunger and they're willing to do what it takes, but that they're resilient enough to withstand what we know is going to happen, and especially the sharks, their family, you know, all of those people, because I feel that the rest of it we can train on and we can teach on. But those are my two sort of biggest things. And the people that I meet that succeed always have that.
All of the above, and coachability.
For sure.
A show me, don't tell me attitude. And that really I had to learn. I'm going to be honest. First, like my husband says, you're always looking for anybody with a pulse, anybody with a pulse and a credit card. And then you learn. And then some type of, right, the hard way, really emotional intelligence. Because to be resilient in this, you have to have some level of emotional intelligence. And it's a leadership journey, right? And you need to be open to that possibility and open to that journey. And like you said, it's actually not the easiest journey to embark upon. It looks all nice and shiny up here, right? But we are those people that turn our backs to the audience to lead the orchestra. And that I've found often has been the most challenging thing for me. Is and lots of times I felt I was leaving people behind. So coachability, emotional intelligence, and just taking on that journey.
Yeah. I would say very similar. And when the slide was up, it says, are you a tugboat or a lighthouse? I sent that to my leaders today. I said, I want you guys to think about this because there's so many layers in that lighthouse tugboat thing. Are you a lighthouse or are you a tugboat tugging people along that don't really want to be there anyways? Or are you the one holding onto the tugboat? At times, you feel like even sometimes you're tugging feel like you're tugging your leaders along. And so there was so much to that. But for me, I look at attitude, and I think attitude entails all of that. Like, do they have the right attitude to do this? One thing that I found really helpful, and I kind of, in the last year of just understanding, was not much of a social media person. I literally had made 5 posts on Facebook before I did this. And so, but what I found is that people that do make posts on Facebook and people respond to it, they're people that people trust. That, to me, has been really enlightening. When somebody says, how do I do this, what do I start? And I'll give them a great little post to put out there on Facebook, and if they get crickets and nothing, it makes me wonder that they might be a little bit harder to work with because the people in their life actually don't trust them. Does that make sense? Yeah. So when somebody puts a post out there on Facebook and you get 100 likes and 85 comments of what are you doing, I'm like, ugh, there's my person.
Thank you. And let's touch on this one. We'll end this here. And Ben, when he was talking to you this morning, talked about everything. And every time you evolve, it comes at a cost, right? Betty, you were talking about sacrifice, right? And I think that oftentimes when we think of the word sacrifice, it doesn't necessarily conjure up good feelings, right? Because it's typically like, I'm willing to do anything, but we've all got our hands behind our back on something, right? And I'm like, well, what do you got behind there? Right? You're like, no, anything except this thing that I do, right? But in order to grow here, how important has sacrifice been, or what have you felt like you've sacrificed on this journey to get where you are?
Sacrifice has been huge for me. When I made the decision, I was only 3 weeks in to this business, or to even just trying our product, I made the decision to go home and sacrifice. And I had 3 teenagers that were all competitive sports. My husband's a competitive athlete, travels all over the place to compete. And so and we were running businesses, and I had just opened up another business, believe it or not. So there was going to have to be some sacrifices if I was going to do this. So I decided to give up TV for a year. I wasn't much of a TV watcher to begin with, but I didn't turn the TV on for a year. I said no to all social events unless they involved my children, my parents, or my husband's family. That's it. I used to do a ladies' night once a week, didn't do it for 1 full year. I dedicated every single moment I had. I got a Bluetooth headset, because I was still working my businesses, and I literally did calls all day long. So, also I sat my kids down. My kids were old enough, and I said, listen, I have a plan for our family, something that's going to take us in a different direction. I need you guys to be understanding, and when I'm on a call, if you could be patient with me, I'm going to be doing meetings, I'm going to be on the road. And so I had these conversations with my kids, and it wasn't easy. My kids got so frustrated with me at times and so mad. But then I would take them on our company trips with us, right? I wanted to reward them for the sacrifices that they also were making for our family. And so I look back now, and they're teenagers and adult now, and the only thing I hear them say is they want to do what I do. That's what they see. They've seen the benefits of it, of the sacrifices. I still make sacrifices, but I have a larger team now. I do watch The Bachelor or The Bachelorette. That's my only show. So I turn the TV on once a week.
I think for me too, at that time that we were still watching TV, and I turned the TV off. Same thing, buy-in from the family. You know, and they're just, I hear this a lot from women, right? Oh, I can't do this because of my kids. I can't do this because of my kids. And I remember very distinctly missing a few birthday parties because the event was always, that company event was always on that weekend. And so we just made it the weekend before or the weekend after and just make a big deal of it then, right? So it's what's important. So it's short-term pain for long-term gain, right? And if you approach it with the piece of buying or, you know, making sure everyone's involved in what you're doing, or you're setting goals for the family, and we're going to do this, and then this happens, or, you know, you can come with us to an event. And we brought our kids along as they were becoming teenagers, and they were making quite a bit of cash actually from all the millionaires babysitting. They were babysitting. So, you know, it just had fun with it, right? So whatever you're feeling, or if you're feeling anxious and guilt around it, everyone else is going to feel that. If you bring an energy of this is what's going to happen, this is what's going to change our life, this is going to, you know, be a positive outcome, people around you are going to feel that too. And we have a lot of hours in the day, and so many times we waste those hours, right? So they're not really used for production, and it's good to get uncomfortable once in a while.
So when I started, my boys were little, and when I think about sacrifice, so when I used to have to put them in daycare and go work in my storefront businesses, you know, you sacrificed your time then for them, but there wasn't a lot of payoff for them. So again, when they were small and I was in party plans, what did we do? I would work in my business all day long, our storefronts, and then I would go, you know, do my 2 to 3 parties. And I lived in a teeny little town, so I had to drive sometimes 2 hours. And I remember saying to the kids, like, this will just set us up so much better in life. And they were so little, they didn't even really get it. And they're old enough now that they can look back and you know, if I say something like, my youngest is in Vancouver playing a big baseball thing this weekend. And I said, I'm not going to be able to be there because I have an event. And he's like, Mom, you're always there. Like, his memory, Mom, you're always there. Not that I missed maybe a sports day or something here and there for an important event. But, you know, if you can involve your kids and let them know, and then fast forward to when the company closed, you know, 2 summers ago, that was when BC had the really bad forest fires, and Kamloops was the evacuation area. And no lie, you guys, so I was in this new company. I wasn't eating or sleeping because I just didn't have time. And I knew that there's this small window of time that you have to sacrifice everything, essentially. My boys cooked. It was not hell. I don't even know what we ate. It was like a zombie apocalypse outside because it was pitch black all the time. And it's such a bizarre time of my life. But I look back at that and I truly, like, I had my phone, my laptop, an iPad. They were doing stuff. But we made massive sacrifices for that first 5 weeks, and, you know, huge payoff. And again, they don't look back on that and think that we missed anything. All they see is the good and the benefit. And, you know, Mom, you're always there, right? Probably there too much.
Yeah, for sure. To me, it's the sacrifice is your time. And once it got in, and it took off like a rocket ship, like the first couple of weeks. And then I was like, I was always a person that was all in, but I was like, okay, what am I willing to do? If this is going to go this time, what am I willing to do that I haven't done before in the other companies that I've been in, where I just had one foot in the door and I'd do a little bit and earn a few $100s. I was like, wait, this could be big, and this could be big. And I ended up having my 3 daughters join with me right off the bat, and 11 of my nieces in the U.S. and Canada. And so that spread this quite a ways. But I think the best gift we can give our family is showing them another way, showing my granddaughters their grandma is doing this thing, and then, oh wait, grandma has the money now to afford a plane ticket, so I get to go spend 2 weeks with her. That's the thing. But to me, I have never worked harder in the last 3 years in any networking company I've been in, but every sacrifice has been worth it.
You gave up all your murder mystery shows.
Oh yeah, I told her I gave up my forensic shows, and that was really hard.
So I think this is an interesting one, because when when I started out, like I said, I was not going for a business. The sacrifices that happened in that first year, I literally went just head down, focused. And my husband's here in the room, and my poor husband was absolutely the one who got cut out. Because it was like, these 3 tiny humans need me to stay alive, literally just need to keep them alive. I had this like newfound passion to just go for it with this business, and I loved it, and I was so excited about it, but I dove big time into it. And so every moment of the day was into this because it was so exciting. And poor Brent was like, hi, I still exist. So when you talk about sacrifices, it's interesting because when we look back at that, it was a sacrifice at that time. And we have come out so much better for it in the last few years, because having that kind of epiphany of, okay, you know, it's actually not okay for me to let that slide either. So when you talked about the 4 squares this morning, it was very cool to go, okay, you know what? That's so true. Every little piece of your life needs an investment, and to find that harmony, I don't really believe in balance. I don't think that really exists, but to find a harmony in all of those areas and know that, you know, your own self-growth absolutely is most important. You need to fuel that first so that you can take care of everybody else, but everybody else is also still important. So the main sacrifice for sure in that first year was my poor husband, but we're absolutely better off for it. And you can see it in, you know, he's here today, learning more about what this is all about. And I think that's, like you said, Angela, it's so important to have that, you know, in your home life, and like you were saying with your kids and your grandkids, for everybody to see that, you know, those sacrifices are worth it in the end, because you do come out that much stronger.
Awesome. We'll hold that. Amazing. My son's in the room, so he can actually attest to this. I never watch TV, right? Never. Like, and he's 21. I don't think he's ever seen me watch TV, so we'll have these movie nights or stuff like that. But because of the Raptors, come on. So I was like, is it, what game are we at? 4? Okay, maybe I'll watch it when it's game 5. And so sure enough, it was game 5, and they could have won. They were going to win it that night. And then they didn't. They lost by 1. So I was like, now I have to invest another night of my life into watching the one on Thursday. But the reason I tell you this is I actually quite never, like, I don't see commercials. People go, hey, have you seen the show? No. And they'll ask you 50 times. You're like, no, I don't watch TV. No, I don't watch TV. But I watched this commercial. And this commercial, the Thursday night when they won, was this Nike commercial. And it was like it was all girls. It's not some girl power thing, but it was a female Nike commercial. Do you guys see that? Because how many times in your life, from your loved ones or anyone, have you been called crazy? Right? And then so this whole commercial was, they will call you crazy. And then it ended and said, show them what crazy can do. This is what crazy can do. So thank you guys. We'll do that.